Let's check this out. We got some news here. Historic verdict, 26-year-old former Marine Daniel. Wait, Daniel Penny was the guy that like stopped the guy on the train, right? The subway. Found not guilty of negligent homicide following harrowing New York trial. Ooh, New York is not a good place for that kind of thing. Let's check it out.
The jury has reached a unanimous verdict in the case of Daniel Penny. He's been found not guilty on the charge of criminally negligent homicide. Now, remember what was at stake here. The jury could not agree on manslaughter. They failed to agree twice. The judge gave them another bite at the apple on this lesser charge, negligent. They now say not guilty. What does this mean? Let's first go to reporter C.B. Cotton, who's outside the courthouse.
So I'm gonna be real. So I'm gonna be real, guys. I only know about this case like kind of I have a very shallow understanding of this case because I just haven't really followed it. If I remember correctly, there was a person on a train that was harassing people, and then he basically chokeholded them, right?
How this has played out. Now, I hear an immediate melee of protesters, CB.
Hi, Harris. That's right. Protesters are pretty upset. There's a large crowd of them out here.
So wait, the guy that he stopped was attacking people? The guy was threatening violence to people on the plane and was restrained. There were two people who held on the guy who weren't prosecuted. The man threatened to kill others, and he was placed into a chokehold. I mean, dude, for real, like, first off, number one, people that do that kind of stuff, they really need to be put somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have random people freaking out on subways, like, saying that they're gonna kill people. Say, like, you are on the subway, and then somebody walks up to you and says that. Like, of course, it'd scare the shit out of you, right? Him, like, preventing them from doing that, like, I don't think that's a bad thing. Is there a clip of it? He had a knife? Wait, the dude had a knife. How is this even debatable then? If the other person had a knife? Wait, what? How? Wait, no way. There's no fucking way.
A deadlocked jury slaughter in the second degree in the chokehold death of Jordan Neely on a New York City subway train last year. Neely struck
respect to an acquittal.
With the more severe charge off the table, jurors.
So wait, hold on. Killed after he was restrained? Wait, after he was restrained? He died of a fentanyl OD much later? I don't know what the facts are. What are the facts of what happened? I thought Fent wasn't Fent George Floyd? George Floyd was the Fent one, right? Is it the same thing? Compression of neck was cause of death. A strong case can be made that Penny didn't cause Neely's death. We don't know what the guy was on. It was in both cases, both on Fent. I actually don't know. Dude, I wish I knew more about this.
The video shows 3 strap hangers subduing the 30-year-old man after
it's like 3 fucking people on this guy.
Alberto Vasquez says he got on the northbound F train and began acting aggressively, threatening riders. Law enforcement sources with knowledge of the case confirm his account, saying according to a witness, the man began shouting, quote, "I want food. I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm ready to go back to jail. And I'll hurt anyone on this train."
I mean, I'll hurt anyone on this train. This is a threat. This is a threat of violence. A direct threat of violence, actually.
The man got on the subway car and began to say a somewhat aggressive speech, saying that he was hungry, he was thirsty, and he didn't care about anything. He didn't care about going to jail, that he didn't care that he gets a big life sentence, and it doesn't matter if he died.
Vasquez says he was scared and believes others on the train were too. That's when he says,
God, how the fuck do people in... Dude, how do people in New York use fucking public transit like this? How do you use this shit without like a weapon? That's fucking crazy.
A 24-year-old
you fucking pray.
rider came up behind the man and put him in a chokehold, holding him there on the ground. 2 other men standing over them also helped subdue the man.
If there was fear, the people who were bluish or who were there, where he separated everything, moved from their place. I stayed sitting in my place because it was a little further away. But obviously those moments, well...
Yeah, especially like if you're disabled or you're like a woman, you're going to be fucking scared. If there's a guy like doing this on the subway.
Thinks fear. One thinks he may be armed.
He says that chokehold lasted about 15 minutes, even with the train stopped at one point at the Broadway Lafayette station and the doors open.
Well, most of the people left. If they open the door, the train separates and it leaves. Almost all the people just stayed. The ones who were there on the floor fighting, A couple who was standing in front of him stayed.
Vasquez says no one thought the man would die, even after he went limp. EMS arrived and performed CPR, but he could not be revived.
I think no one thought that he was in a risky situation because he was defending himself all the time. All the time he moved. He tried to remove his arm, and then when they had it on his side, he kept kicking. So he thought that he's defending himself.
The 24-year-old who delivered the chokehold was questioned and released by police. He is not facing any charges at this point. The medical examiner has yet to determine a cause of death. Former NYPD Chief of Department Terry Monahan.
The way the detectives have to look at this case is what would a reasonable person do and what would a reasonable person be expected to do.
It was later found that he was still alive, but the police didn't provide aid because he... Wait, what? Really now? Like, is that real? See, this is why it's so hard, because like I don't know too much about this case, so it's kind of hard to comment, because whenever something happens, there's always conflicting points of view. Obviously, that's like why we have a justice system, right? It's really hard to figure out, like, in all of the smoke, like what actually happened. He had HIV or other blood disease, so the cops didn't have the equipment to deal with him in the case of bleeding.
Next to me, you can hear them rattling the police barricades, saying no justice, no peace.
This, honestly, like, to me, this just seems like a failure of like mental health. Like this guy should not have been like out. He should not have been out. Like, he shouldn't have even been possible for him to actually like go out onto a subway and like actually do this. You know what I mean? Like that seems like the real tragedy to me here. Is the guy was clearly unwell, right?
And what they're yelling now follows a series of threats that they hurled earlier.
The thing is like, when it comes to like self-defense, like, you guys know, you know how I feel about it. Like, I'm very pro self-defense. Like, if anyone like went up to me and was like, I don't care if I go to jail, I'm gonna fucking kill you, I probably would be ready to use like lethal force against them. So like, I'm very pro like self-defense, right? But again, the tragedy is that this guy should have never been in this position to even do this.
As the defense walked in with their client, Daniel Penny, telling the defense team that Daniel Penny can have no peace here in New York if he's found not guilty on this lesser charge, criminally negligent homicide. And from what I can hear right now, they're repeating those threats. They are very angry. Harris, I also want to mention there were a couple people here this morning to support Daniel Penny, but the anti-Penny crowd far outweighs them, and they seem pretty upset. We're seeing police officers come out here in droves to try to keep the two groups separated for now. But I'm looking at our notes from the courtroom, and it seems like this is the first time we've seen some real emotion from Daniel Penny. His attorneys told me.
How do you protest this? Okay, so my thought is, from their point of view, again, I'm trying to like put myself like into like their mindset, right? So their framing is that the family is probably very upset, obviously. Like, if you had a mentally ill person in your family and they did something like this, you would still be upset, right? So like, they probably are upset, like thinking that like the chokehold was a little excessive. I think that's my guess. I don't know. That seems like the reasonable thing to be like, oh, like that was excessive. Like he didn't need to go that far, right? I don't know. And Alex says there's video of body cam footage that shows the police detected a pulse on Jordan Neely after his confrontation. Hold on. So what you're saying is that the news report that we just watched, like the one previous, was wrong. Because that news report stated that like he died while in the chokehold, right? Am I wrong? That's what they said, right? They said that he died during the chokehold. They're so mad about this guy because if he was found guilty, it would have made self-defense for defending others legal. I think it is a noble thing to like actually want to protect people. This is the problem, is like, you set it up so you're in a position where people are not incentivized to help each other, right? And like, this is like I've had to think about this a lot because I carry a gun. So it's like, I think about this a lot. Like, if somebody else was in trouble, would I even save them? Right. And I know it sounds fucked up. Like, you'd be like, wow, really, Leaflit? Like, you wouldn't fucking save someone that was in trouble? But you have to think of it from like, that's not the calculation I'm making in my mind. The calculation I'm making in my mind is like, what are the negatives that could happen if I do save the person? Correct? Because, and it's not just for me. Right? Because say there's a person that's in trouble, they're getting attacked by a person, I step in, I pull out my gun, and then I actually like prevent that from happening, right? But then now I'm caught up in the court system, and like, I could possibly go to jail, and like, how would my mom feel about that? How would my mom feel about that? How would my family feel about that? How would all of my friends and all the people that rely on me, like, how would they feel about that, right? For instance, like, because I'm a streamer, like, I hire a bunch of people, right? what's going to happen to them? There's a ton of like things that I'm factoring into my mind, and I'm like, who do I care more about, right? So again, you might be thinking like, wow, Leaflit, that's so fucked up. Like, do you have like no morals? Like, you wouldn't save someone that's like actively being like hurt, or, you know, actively under threat of death? Like, you wouldn't save them? I'm like, that's not what I'm thinking of. I'm thinking about like literally everybody else that's reliant on me, and how if I take action, I am affecting people I care about more. Does that make sense? Like, I care more about my mom and my friends more than some random person. You take care of you and yours, period. Yeah. So basically, like, the situation I'm in is I'm kind of like, well, you should have also protected yourself, right? Like, it's how I justify it. Like, oh, well, it's not my responsibility to take care of you. Like, you should have had a gun yourself. No good deed goes unpunished. Yeah. And again, if it was just me, like, say I didn't have anybody like that cared for me, I didn't have anyone reliant on me, then it's a lot easier to make that equation, right? It's a lot easier to be like, well, I can do this for the moral good, because if anything happens, it only happens to me, right? I save someone's life, and like maybe it only affects me, and like maybe I go to jail for a little bit, right? But then again, when you have other people that you rely on, and you know, this goes doubly so for like, especially for fathers and like men that have family, right? Like, if you have kids, like, you have to think about your kids first, right? And I don't know, like, that's just how I see it. And I don't expect everyone to like kind of to have that same kind of mentality, right? But that's just how I see it.
Me this morning that this trial has understandably taken a toll on him. He's been spending time with family and friends.
Hold on, wait, New York is a duty to retreat state? Is it really? That's fucking cringe. Duty to retreat is so cringe. So if you don't know what that is, if you're like not familiar with self-defense, duty to retreat means that you have an obligation to retreat. You can only use force to protect yourself if you're cornered, basically. Duty to retreat means that like you have to run. If you can run, you have to run, which is stupid. Stand your ground means that if somebody like threatens you, you can immediately engage them. That's what it means. It means like you don't have to like run first. Like you can basically like hold your ground. And the reason why that's kind of dumb is because it's not always the case. Like, retreating is not always an option. In a lot of the cases, it's not really the smart option. It depends on like what the enemy has, what they have access to. But like, you're also putting like a lot of other people in danger.
Stay calm, and our courtroom reporter telling me for the first time she sees him visibly smile, now hearing that jurors have decided he is not guilty of criminally negligent homicide.
Damn. I wish I knew more about this specific case to actually comment on it. It's hard to tell. I don't know the details of the case, but I can just give you like the philosophy behind like self-defense. How the hell can you legislate someone's natural instincts of survival and preservation? I don't know. People are crazy. There's like other places too that they don't have. Like, if someone breaks into your house, like, you're not supposed to like engage with lethal force. Like, there's some places like that, right? I've never lived in a place like that. Can anyone confirm that? There are states, right, where you can't actually do that. If someone breaks into your house, you can't engage them lethally. Welcome to clown state. That is so fucking insane. Yeah. Well, the reason why that's insane, so you might be thinking, okay, so I'm gonna try to explain it to you. If you think that that's fine, because, oh, you know, like, what if somebody like breaks into your house and like they're just fucking around, they just want to like, you know, steal some items or whatever. The problem is you don't know that. The reason why people believe that you should be able to defend yourself like immediately if someone breaks into your house, because breaking into like your territory basically is like, it's already like a violent action. And then you don't know the mentality of the person that breaks in. When you're self-defending, you're already playing at an initiative deficit. So like, having to like, is this guy here to like steal my money, or is he here to kill me? Like, having to like make that mental calculus like at all time, like during the entire engagement, it can mean the seconds that like actually get you hurt. Does that make sense? What's crazy is Neely had 42 arrests. Wait, the guy who died on the subway had 42 priors? Jesus. What is wrong with our fucking system, man? What the fuck?